Hey guys, welcome back to Randy's Winners and Losers. We are going to talk about the three riders who potentially have lost out the most in this Misano-Barcelona triple header, as well as the three riders who have gained the most as we just passed the midway part of this 2020 season. What a season it's been. Winners and losers. So another triple header, and as I mentioned in the preview videos, nothing but unpredictability. Who could be predicting this? It was all about the Italians in Misano 1 and Misano 2. It was about heartbreak and redemption. And then we had Barcelona. The twists and turns keep on coming in this championship. But before we start talking about it, I'd like to know in the comments below who impressed you the most in this triple header, as well as the fact that you know I enjoy conversing with you and interacting, and just keep them comments coming. So let's get started with those who will be looking for improvements the next time around. First rider who I think lost out the most in this particular triple header was Valentino Rossi. And it's tough for me to throw him in there because actually in all three races, he's shown the form and pace he's had all season long to not only fight for podiums, but even for victories. But with Misano's podium right there in front of his home crowd, that close with Morbidelli and Bagnaia, it just wasn't to be. And then race 2 in Misano, he crashed out early on where he raised his hand and said it was his fault. Then the third race in Barcelona, while chasing down Fabio Quartararo for first place, he went down in turn 2 and held his head in his hands. But Valentino Rossi still has that race pace not only for podium finishes, but even for victories. And in 2021, he'll be back with Petronas. Good luck. Despite getting a podium in Misano 2, I have to put Paul Espargaro here. And based off of KTM's triple header and how it went for them in general, Paul's front row start in Misano a year ago in the dry was the fact that kept him so pumped up, especially going into this race. And then of course, knowing that Brad and Miguel already had victories, I'm sure he would have wanted more than a 9th and a 3rd place. Let's fast forward to Barcelona, and in FP4, it was Paul Espargaro on the tip of everyone's tongue when it came to race pace. It looked as though he would be battling for the top spot. But it wasn't to be come Sunday. He was battling in the top 5 and eventually crashed out in 8th place. Having said all that, the triple header in general wasn't a success for KTM as the previous one anyway. So I'm confident that we will see him and the Austrian manufacturer bounce back at Le Mans. Who's the rider who I think lost out the most in this triple header? How fast do fortunes change in this sport? It has to be Andrea Dovizioso. With Misano, it just did not click for him. He finished 14th in race 1 and in race 2, 7th. But somehow, with his consistency, he remained in the championship points lead going into Barcelona. Watch out what happened next. But the qualifying in Barcelona for Dovi did him no favors. He was starting the race in 17th. And going into turn 1, less than a kilometer of racing, there was a chain reaction with Petrucci getting sideways and Zarco shutting the throttle and losing the front. His machine took out Dovizioso and both riders were sent to the gravel. Dovi was on his hands and knees and was pounding the gravel in frustration. You had to feel sorry for him. If you didn't, you didn't have a heart. Coming away from Barcelona, he's now 4th place in this championship, still with 84 points. And it's Quartararo who's back in front with 108 points. That's 24 points in front. So on to the guys who have benefited the most of this Misano-Barcelona triple header. And first up has to be Franco Morbidelli. With victory in Misano 1, his first victory ever in the Motogp cast, it was something spectacular to see. But I don't think anybody thought how strong he really was when it came to the race. And he seemed to be able to ride away from everybody and the whole field with ease. With the second race in Misano 2, okay, it didn't go anywhere near as well. But that was due to the stomach cramps that he was having and the severe sickness going into the race. He was very weak and he was lucky enough to finish in 9th place. So after gaining full strength after his sickness, going into the Barcelona Grand Prix, Morbidelli once again slammed it onto pole position. In the race, he looked like he was going to pull away like we'd seen in Misano 1, but it wasn't to be because it was Quartararo who picked up that pace. And then Morbidelli had a little slip up going into turn 1 and dropped 3 positions, where he ended up in 4th place, just 1 second behind a podium finish. Why is he in the winner category? He's a winner now, and he's just going to get stronger and stronger. I promise that. I have to say the two top biggest winners in my eyes are fairly obvious. It's just the order in which I had to put them in that made it difficult. Joan Mir's running second in this championship, and he's second on my list of the biggest winners. But he's by far been the most consistent of any rider that we've seen in the triple header and way back in the double header in Austria. The main factor for Mir not getting his first victory in this last triple header, qualifying. In fact, it's probably the one thing that's missing in his arsenal. But when you look back at Barcelona's race one more time, had there not been a lull in the middle of the race, and alternatively, had there been one more lap, I think we could have seen him on the top step of the podium for his first victory. Those are the little margin he needs to improve on if he wants to be the biggest winner in the next triple header. Let's see if it happens in Le Mans and Aragon. We wish him luck. Have you guessed who I think is the biggest winner? I know it's following the same theme as the past episode, but it's not always going to be this way. Fabio Quartararo. He's now our championship leader by 8 points. But man, looking back after disastrous Brno and Austria Grand Prix, it looked like Misano was going to be a walk in the park for him, but it was anything but. In fact, with the 2 races that went by, not even a podium. So coming into Barcelona, you could say that Fabio was probably in the biggest rut since starting in the Motogp class. You know, he'd already seen Morbidelli and Vinales having victories, as well as Rossi being very, very strong. But there's a sign of the talent of Quartararo and the focus that he has on this championship. And also in Barcelona, where he kickstarted his Motogp career back in 2018, he came out with a victory. Not only the victory, but the leader of this championship. Right on. He said it was the best day of his life. And boy, we could see that on the top step of the podium when his emotions poured out. I can tell you that there's so much stress at this moment, especially in the 2020 season with these triple headers coming straight at you right away. We have this one weekend off, and then we're going into the French Grand Prix. He's got 3 victories under his belt. Could he make it 4 on his home turf? Let's wish him the best. I hope you guys like this episode of Winners and Losers. Please write your comments down below because I'd like to know what you're thinking. As well as in just a few days, I'll be doing the preview of the Le Mans Grand Prix. And I hope you stay safe and see you soon.